castle on Saturday. But
Wild.
yeah, it just goes to that whole when this group dies off, like what comes next. Because I'll be honest, I've never been. I'm not mad about fiducia supplicans. I'm not mad about all the things they even listed in that letter. I am the angriest at the church of their approach to how to discuss the faith with young men.
Yeah.
Like that is my biggest issue with the church right now. Like I'm listening to these conversations online that people are having, and I'm looking at these young men getting pulled towards the red pill, and I'm listening to, and it's like, I've never seen the church be more irrelevant to a conversation. They're talking about bringing women deaconesses in. They're talking about like feminizing the liturgy more than they already have. And then I'm watching these young men who are so disgusted with feminism that they're willing to go to Islam.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, where is the church, man? Like it's the same thing that happened during the council when the sexual revolution was happening. And the church had this duty to get up and preach the truth to the culture. And they just took a back seat and they participated in it. And it's the scariest thing in the world to me, because I don't see how the church is going to draw young men in when we have a bunch of hippies that are still in the hierarchy.
Yeah. I think what I call cosplay Catholicism, which is what a lot of places are, that will don on all the vestments and have the outer fixtures of the faith, but don't actually hold the faith. I think that will die off. But you're absolutely right. I actually have a video coming out, hopefully within like 3 or 4 weeks. It's an interesting video. I've never done a video like this before, but I'll give you guys a little bit of sneak peek. It's 20 dudes, 20 guys, right? All my age, roughly around that, right? And it's them giving their stories, all in like a more dramatic feature about how the church has failed young men in their appeals, and how at the moment, right, they feel completely lost. They're all practicing Catholics. They're all good dudes, but all of us are in the same agreement, whether it's the realm of the dating world, whether it's the realm of just like, hey, young men, why don't we talk to you more about than just like avoid pornography, right? That's of course important, but young men need so much more. They need to be taught all the virtues. They need to be encouraged and say, like, you can not only just be a saint, but you can actually help revive this church and bring it into, the 22nd century or something to that effect. But that's not what's going on.
We're in a situation now where it's even how I feel about politics. Like we have to be thinking in terms like our ancestors did when they built cathedrals. We have to start thinking the long game. We have to stop thinking about this next election. We have to stop thinking about the next conclave even. We have to start thinking in terms of, okay, how can we build small like communities of even of tradition, things like that, but ways to talk to young men to teach them to be leaders of homes, right? And also to inspire women to understand that, look, when we talk about wifely submission, stop looking at that like it's a dirty word. It's not about mutual submission. It's just not. It is about wifely submission to her husband, but that has to be presented in a way where they understand it's actually for their own good. Like there's nothing that my wife is happier about than the fact that she can submit to a man who cares about her soul more than anything else. It's almost like a relief for her that she doesn't have to worry about all these other things. She leaves the catechesis to me. She gets to leave a lot of things to me, and I'm going to be the one that's responsible for it, right? So the idea that when I hear everybody talking about this stuff, I'm just like, why are we talking about this the way we are? The church is supposed to be training young men to be men, and training young ladies to have humility and accept their role. Like, I don't know how we fix this whole mess, man. It's just so bad, and the church is just dead silent on all of it.
Yeah. What do you think are like the top, if you had to give like maybe just 3, like top 3 things that the church needs to focus on teaching young men? Like life lessons or whatever you think.
Willingness to suffer and sacrifice.
Yeah, I mean, you could go the priest, prophet, king route of your own home, things like that. But I'm more worried about the black pill young men are facing right now when it comes to women, because I even see some of these young Gen Z guys, even listening to Fuentes, and he's like, I understand where these guys are coming from. They're just fed up. Like they're just like, I just have no patience for women. I mean, I've talked to a lot of young guys that are in the dating world, including you, Nick. I won't say some of the conversations we've had, but it's a very daunting thing to be a young guy and have the young women who are just so infected by and look, it's not even just young women, like we're infected by feminism. So I've seen conversations go where young guys are like, I want a trad wife who's going to stay home and raise the kids. So then a woman will go, okay, I want that. I want to stay home while you earn a living. And the guy's like, what do you mean? You're just a gold digger. You just want me to provide for you? Like, they're all so mixed up.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do, man. It's so
Yeah.
it's so sick, man. It's like, and this will actually lead into a conversation. Rob and I got a text today from somebody who watches the show asking us like advice for parents that have young girls, like what to do. I mean, should we jump into that, Rob?
We could do that. I have it pulled up here. I could read it.
Yeah, go ahead. Read it. We won't say names. We told her we wouldn't say names.
Let's see. So she says, I would love hearing your opinions on forming the faith in our families. I've been pondering lately how to best encourage and prepare my daughters, who are 12 and 13, who aim for a life of marriage and family. When they tell friends and family that they want to be wives and mothers, they're getting the typical response from grandparents that they should go to college, etc. And I know teachers at their school talk about preparing the kids for college. My girls don't back down from what they want and just let it roll off their shoulders, but I'm wondering what we as parents should encourage them to prepare for in the meantime, since it might not be the case that they get married right out of high school. How do we encourage them to continue education at a local community college after high school, taking a class here and there that interests them, or a class that helps with household management and daily tasks, like home economic stuff? Do we encourage a job until they get married? Encouraging involvement in church activities seems like a good idea. Would love to hear you guys toss this topic around.
Oh man, this is a so I've had this conversation before, right? Where I had the argument with my in-laws because when they asked my daughter what she wanted to be, she was like, I want to be a mom. Like, I want to have a family. Like, I think, like, I've talked to my daughters about this, and it's like, okay, look, if you guys want to, because obviously you're not getting married right out of high school. It's not, we're in a different time than that. If you're going to look to do something, why don't you look to do something that would be something you could do from home? Like, prepare yourself to do something where if you maybe could do something from home where you could stay home with your children and maybe assist your husband if he needs a little help, because it is going to be extremely difficult in this modern age to meet someone and be able to provide for a family. So maybe that could involve being like a beautician or something like that, where like my sister stays home with her kids and she has like a little salon in her house. And she just has women come to the house and she does their hair while the baby's sleeping.
Because it wasn't really traditional for women to not work.
Yeah.
It was not traditional for them to work outside of the home.
Outside of the home.
They were in charge of the home economy, which usually was some sort of business or service that household provided.
Yeah. Yeah. Like my wife does photography, right? So she's doing infant photo shoots and things like that. It doesn't interfere with her caring for the home. She doesn't, it's kind of, it's more of a hobby than a job, but I think
one of the biggest things we as parents can do to encourage that is just make it really well known to them that they're welcome to stay as long as they need to after high school.
Yeah, especially no need for them to girls, leave.
Especially women, yeah.
Yeah, especially your girls. So Matt says, oh, sorry. The wrong one. Matt said people should get married right out of high school. So I'm a big proponent of that. And the reason I say that is because I think when you meet somebody later in life, not that it can't work, but there's something about meeting somebody later in life and them not knowing you and all your little quirks and all your weirdness. And then you wind up moving in together and starting a family at 30 or 35 or something. I'm not saying, obviously I know many people that have done this, but what I just think if it's possible to encourage a young marriage, that doesn't, it's because I know when me and my wife hit hard times, we had a foundation because we had been together since we were teenagers, that when the hard times came, it was like, all right, we'll make it through this. You know, we're not going to just back out on this whole thing just because we hit a little bit of a rough patch, you know?
Yeah. What came to mind whenever I heard the question was actually St. Paul in two of his epistles. I believe it's 1 Timothy 5 and Titus chapter 2. He gives basically a short summary of what young men and young women, old men and old women need to do in the faith. So if people are really interested in just going and checking out St. Paul in those sections, go read those chapters. But just a couple of things off the top of my head. St. Paul talks about how young men need to be chaste, sober, right? Meaning like seriously minded. So not, goof offs who are just like pursuing useless dead end things like, things that aren't profitable. They also need to treat all younger women like sisters in the faith, older women as mothers in faith, etc. Older men are supposed to pass this on. For younger women, they're supposed to be chaste. It specifically says keepers at home, those who love their husbands and take care of the children, and that the older women are supposed to model this to the younger women. All of this, I think, is obviously lost in modern society. I think practically, though, it's like if you're a good parent and you're in that situation, model that relationship if you're married, right, to your children. And if unfortunately you're in a serious situation where you're split up, still strive to model it your absolute best and keep your children away from things that are harmful for them. So yeah, Proverbs 31, Miss Homemaker, Proverbs 31 is a great, I would say, it's the bar, right? It's kind of like the ideal of what a woman should be, right? In the same way that I would say Ephesians 5, which is the famous passage about, holy matrimony that St. Paul gives. It's kind of the litmus test for men, I would say. Yeah. So go and model, like look at what these passages of scripture say and then model your life after them.
So I always worry that when we talk about this stuff, Margot is going to take it personally and stuff. But Margot, you got to realize we're talking to people who have kids, and they're wondering what they should encourage their kids to do. The thing is, it's not too late. You never know what God has in store for you. It's not like your life is over. And some people are just, I know a lot of men your age that are not married. Like, yeah,
it's not your fault, Margaret. I mean, it's like I'm 25, I'm not married, but the amount of unmarried people has gotten so high. And I think there's like so many reasons for it, like bad families. I think a lot of guys fall into like doom scrolling and pornography. And so they just spend their time as like chronic online people. And so they suffer from that. Women can do that, of course, too. So yeah, like don't blame yourself, blame society, but always strive to become a better and better person. Always ask the Lord, right, to lead you and guide you. Yeah, Sean, 22, unmarried. It's so over. So true, King. I'm done. I'm 25. I'm about to turn 26 in a month. I'm done.
Well, even this, right? It's like a lot of us confuse needs with luxuries. A man can typically provide the necessities, but a lot of us need to be willing to sacrifice a lot of modern luxuries. Like, I got married at 22 and I had nothing. Like, I had to borrow money for my wife's engagement ring. Like, I didn't even have money for an engagement ring for her. It was like we just winged it, and it was like we got an apartment, and it took years for us to get our feet on the ground. But there's something exciting about being young and not having enough money for things. And
so exciting.
It kind of is, though. Like it kind of is. I'm telling you. Like,
says the guy with a boat.
Anthony, would you want to be 22 with no money trying to get money for an engagement ring in Biden's economy? I'm just saying.
No, believe me, but I do commiserate with what you guys are going through now. Like, even
because you got married in like the 60s, right?
even my house, like I bought my house at a time. I think my neighbor's selling the house next door, and they're selling it for double what I paid for my house. So no matter how you look at it, like, I got in at a good time, it's just crazy how difficult it is for people to survive and especially young people. But dude, you don't need to own a house. You could rent, and it's not the worst thing in the world. Like, you just, you got to make do with what you got. It really is exciting to be young, broke, and dumb. We're eating frozen dollar store burritos. There's something.
I don't think she was being serious.
There's something, but I am. There's something like, you'll look back on that time when you're older and a little more stable, and you'll say those are the best years of your life. You just will, especially because you're young. Nobody's expecting much of you in your 20s. It's like
nowadays we're like, yeah, I got married young. I got married at 35 and had one kid. That's what it's gonna be like for whenever I'm old. Yeah, I got married young. I was 46.
Yeah, it's but it also is different for men and women, I guess, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just I think that we need to be giving something to offer as a counter to the red pill thing,
1,000%.
to give something, because they're preaching a gospel, those guys. Like they're
Oh, yeah.
preaching a gospel. It's just it's an evil gospel. Like it's bad news, but they are preaching a gospel. They're telling these young men, do what we tell you. You go to the gym, you get yourself money, and you bag yourself 50 chicks, and this is what you got to do to better yourself. And they're promising these men something, right?
Mhm.
And it's wicked. But we're not giving them something better that they're saying, okay, I don't want that, I want this instead. It's like we're just saying what? Like yeah, all right. Go give up doing anything fun. Go give up doing anything enjoyable for what? Well, for eternal life, but like that.
Yeah.
But what's that? It's just eternal life. But no, but there's something also more satisfying about living that way, right?
Yeah.
There's something about when you cultivate virtue in your life that you actually do feel more fulfilled, and there's something that you can offer. Because the guys that are offering the other way, like that materialism, just leads to an emptiness in your heart. And you see that with all these celebrity conversions. The celebrities are converting because they have all the materialism and it's just not fulfilling them. They need something more.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, it's like what you said, Rob. Like, young men have got to be trained to not be effeminate, and I say this to myself in the sense that like, what is effeminacy? As we all talk about, it's a reluctance to suffer because of some attachment to some type of pleasure, and so people could define that pleasure as food, relaxation, pornography, or not having a job, or not, just getting out of bed and doing something. And I think
Video
so much of
games.
and so much of this, I think, is rooted in fathers not being present, right? That's just very common nowadays. But also, I would say a large amount of it, I would also attribute to moms being the main raiser of their child after the stage of being a toddler. So it's like young guys need their dads to raise them after a
Yeah.
certain age. It's like when you're young, you need that protection, right? So mom is there, she's there for you, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. And you need your mom, right, through the course of your life. But after a certain point, you need your dad to focus in on you more and teach you what it means to be a man. My dad is phenomenal. He's my best friend, and my mom and dad, of course, they're still together. I'm really lucky in that respect. But he's just taught me so much of just like even things of just how to treat, right, a lady. Like I see the way he treats my mom, how he treats my sisters, things like that. I see how the way she respects him. And so it puts into my mind things like, hey, if I ever get married one day, I need to actually think about questions like, what is this girl's family like?
Yeah. Well, the
Especially
one thing I drill into my kids is how important it is to keep your family unit together. Like it's not. I watch some people in my lives that have children, and they're all concerned with career, and they're all concerned with all these things of the world, and I'm just like, look, my job, like I go to work every day and it sucks. I'm up at 4 a.m. and sometimes I don't get home till 5 or 6, and I got to work Saturdays, and then I got to come and talk to you bozos twice a week, and it's like it's a lot. But all of those things that I do are just things I do to have the family. Like that, they're not who I am. Who I am is their father, and especially my son. I'm like you don't understand how important your role as a man is to keep your family together. Like that's your whole job. You keep your family together under all circumstances. Because I watched Matt Walsh talk to a divorce lawyer today. He had a conversation with that famous divorce lawyer. He was in all these red pill shows and stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing they didn't touch on, I wish they did. Like I know so many couples that got divorced because they hit hard financial times.
Mm-hmm.
And they were more embarrassed to tell people they mismanaged their money than they were to tell people they were getting divorced.
Yeah.
Like, and there's less social stigma on somebody who gets divorced than there is on somebody who mismanaged their money. And it's like, especially in this economy, that what we're all talking about, right? It's impossible to afford anything. It's like, if you even go into bankruptcy and you lose your home, things like that, if you keep your family together, you're a hero to me, because
Yeah.
you didn't cave to the pressure of worrying about what other people thought. You said, okay, I don't care if we got to go live in an apartment for a little while, we're keeping this thing together. Like, I know a couple that did that, and I tell them all the time, like, dude, you are a hero to me, because they lost their home. They had to move to Texas and live with his brother for a year. Then they came back. Then they finally saved up enough money to rent a place, and they rented it from a guy who said, okay, if you want, you can buy it eventually. And they wound up buying that home eventually. Like, it was like an 8-year process that they had to go through of losing everything, sticking together. And they got like 5 kids, man. Like, they stuck it together, and now they're living on a 2 acres in Pennsylvania, living the dream. Like, I'm so proud of them. And I'm godfather to one of their kids. It's like the whole idea of what we put pressure on people, because that was one of the conversations, one of the topics they were talking about, is there's no social pressure to keep families together anymore. Like, if things get hard, what you'll have is the girl's girlfriends in her ear telling her, leave that guy, go do you, go start your own thing. And it's not the same for men. Men are scum if they leave the family. But for a woman, it's like, oh, you go, girl. You go be your best you, you know? It's a very warped world we live in right now.
Yeah, I'm about to drop the status. I'm going to go change this lighting in a second, go shut my blinds. But to comment on your point, actually, I fully agree with you, because like the father is the principal source of unity of the family. Like we think about that in the theology world. Like the Pope is the principal source of unity that keeps the church together. And right, he has kind of, if you will, the final say on what to do. I know, for real, bro. I wish I was entering the unitive way, but not so much. But yeah, it's like the father, he's the principal source of unity, and people are dying for that. I mean, think about just some like pop culture references. As you were talking, there was a couple of things that came to mind. One, think about, like, do you guys remember the old movie Hook with what was
I
it?
love that movie.
Yeah, that's a funny movie. But like the whole point of the movie, right, is that like he needs to be a man, right? Peter needs to be a man, needs to be a dad specifically, right? He needs to be a dad. And that's like, you don't see movies like that anymore, where like being a dad is praised. 2, recently, and younger people will know this reference more, but I think it was like 2015, 2016 or something. There was a video game series that came out called The Last of Us. Very, very interesting show. They made a show off. I haven't seen the show, but I've seen both of the
Don't
games.
watch the show.
Probably, yeah. And I'm not endorsing these either. I know the basic gist of the story, but the basic gist of the story is essentially there's like this post-apocalyptic world, and there's this girl who was basically bitten by this infected creature, right? And she might have, but she didn't turn, and so she might have the cure, if you will, for this disease. And what ends up happening is like this dad who's lost his daughter ends up taking her across the country to basically find this medical laboratory to get her saved. But it's like this father-daughter bonding experience. People, loved it. And the third and final thing I would say is, people called me the tumbleweed Thomas for a reason. Everyone knows I'm a huge, huge fan of Westerns. I write Westerns. I watch Westerns all the time. My favorite actor is John Wayne. You look at John Wayne's most famous movie, right? 1965, The Searchers, right? The whole movie is this kind of embittered old guy, but he's chasing the Comanche across the deserts and across the snows to get his niece back, right?
Yeah.
It's like, where are these stories? And so what's cool is that we can draw back on this timeless desire of a father to protect
You
his
forgot
kids.
Taken with Liam Neeson.
Oh, yeah, that's a great example. Yeah, Taken, you see him go across the world multiple times.
But he also
Somehow
allowed
gets
his
captured,
daughter to get taken.
Yeah, that's
his
true.
daughter was doing some shady things, and
Yeah.
she
I like the first problem was letting his daughter go over with just a bunch of girlfriends. That was, like who would do that? For real.
It's so funny because all my daughter's friends are talking about like going away to college and stuff, and my daughter's like, I would never go away to college. I don't want to leave you guys. Like, I want to stay at home, which I kind of feel bad for whoever she marries, because she is a daddy's girl, and she like my wife, she's very attached to and stuff. It's like,
well, can you imagine you being someone's father-in-law?
I'll tell you, Rob, I'm looking forward to like whoever she meets, helping, like mentoring him into being a good father. Like I really am, because I think like I'm guaranteeing whoever she ends up with is not going to have like okay. So I wrote I had a banger tweet this week. I made a joke. I said, Ben, you owe your wife a marital debt of 3 times a week or whatever. It was a stupid joke. I was just trying to troll people. But a couple of feminists caught it, and they were like, something about like my daughter. Like, you have daughters. I hope you marry a man. I hope she marries a man just like you. And I said, that's like my deepest prayer, is that my daughter finds and marries a man like me. And if you're not praying that for your daughters, you're not a good father, right? Like I want my daughters to meet a man that's principled, has the Catholic faith, cares about family more than anything, will never leave his wife under any condition. Like, those are all things that I pray my daughter meets a man that has those principles. And I'm looking forward to whatever man she does meet, helping him to see that those are the principles that will actually make his life meaningful.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's I thought it was a little young for Nick, but maybe, a couple of years.
Couple years. Didn't you tell her she was like 16 or something?
She's 16.
Like, she's way too young.
Yeah, she's 16. Couple of years.
Plus, she's Italian, so
yeah, that's. Well, she's only. My daughter, I guess, would be like.
Does she have a New York accent?
So I'm like 75% Italian, 25% Irish, and my wife is 50% Italian, 50% German. So,
oh wow!
What would that make my kids?
Like
a lot of averages.
100% American.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
Yeah, we're mutts. I'm not like I joke around about the Irish and the Italians, but my mom's like 50% Italian, 50% Irish.
It's actually funny.
I'm not going to show that comment, but oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
What John Benedict?
Jimmy, the John Benedict comment.
Yeah.
Grow up a little.
Oh. You can throw that up.
There's some truth to that, but no.
Hey, Jimmy Aiken said so.
It's true. It's true.
You didn't say we're black. You just said we're not white.
That's true. That's true.
Oh,
it's funny that the audience bring this up. 16. How old is Nick? I'm about to turn 26.
I thought it would be hilarious if we had our Jimmy Aiken argue with the real Jimmy Aiken.
Oh,
bro. Yes.
I thought that would be a hilarious thing. Like, have real Jimmy Aiken come on and argue with our Jimmy Aiken. So I sent Trent a text. I was like, yo, if you talk to Jimmy, tell him I'd love to do a bit where he's arguing with my friend doing an Aiken impression. I think it would be funny, but I don't know if he'd be up to poking fun at himself. He said, yeah, Magic 8 Ball says the outlook not so good.
Dang. He's black-pilled us.
I don't know. I think he'll warm up to it.
He'll warm up. I mean, that's just how it is.
How funny would that be to have them argue over some nonsense, right? Like, just something ridiculous. Like,
all the topics that we brought up were completely scholarly topics.
I think Jimmy did see it.
100% he saw it.
He definitely saw it. How do you not?
Jimmy, if you're out there, it was a joke. It's funny.
Clearly was. I mean,
like, there were some people in the comments that got so mad, and I was like, bro, this is a joke. Like, this is avoiding Babylon. What do you expect?
There are a lot of very sensitive Catholics out there that don't they think that when you, especially if you like what we did there was so innocent and not offensive. I mean, it was first of all
touch on evolution.
Not like we didn't even poke fun. We talked about Jessica Rabbit and like Bigfoot and nonsense. Like, it was just so not offensive intentionally.
Here's the thing, that something doesn't have, like, if something isn't an explicit compliment, it doesn't mean it's instantly calumny. But there is a wide middle ground there, people.
And we live in a weird time where if you criticize someone that somebody likes, they take it personally. Like, they think that you're attacking their family. It's a strange thing, man. Like, that was just a funny gag that we did. I thought it was hilarious.
1000%.
That bit was good. Yeah. But if you look through the comments, people are like, this is in bad taste. I can't believe you guys did. It's like, you people kidding me? Like, I don't know, man. Our channel's just not.
Trust me, you would all know if we did it in bad taste.
Yeah,
there would be no question.
We had a few that we were going to ask that Ryan would not do. Ryan likes Jimmy Aiken, so Ryan wouldn't do it. Like we had a few that you want to see one of the questions I had?
Poor Rob, y'all. Everyone go and donate to their local's account.
Yeah.
Please,
We're gonna burn every bridge out there.
Rob's got to remember, like, hey, yo, I'm getting something out of this.
All right. So one of the questions was, what high-level job do you think you could lie your way into with no experience and no one would notice?
Oh no.
Catholic apologist.
No. Oh no. That one I probably would have busted out laughing, not gonna lie. That's pretty good. Oh, brother.
You can mark it for me, but Anthony will still get half. So
I just love how when you watch that whole clip of us, you two are literally
Dying.
stitches in your sides on the floor. Anthony's as red as a tomato. And
I
I'm
was
just sitting
getting
there
laid
like, okay.
and not being able to breathe.
Nick, you played the perfect straight man for that bit. Like you just straight face, you didn't crack a smile. You were like, I'm learning a lot. I haven't learned this much since Fiducia Supplicants.
Yeah.
Very informative.
Margot doesn't know who Ryan is.
Oh, that's because Margot probably wasn't speaking to us when Ryan was a guest on our show.
It's a good point.
Margot goes through episodes where she just blocks us and doesn't talk to us.
That reminds me, I got to check with Ryan, see if he wants me to do that show.